Welcome to Padua. You can visit this city from Santa Lucia train station in Venice, and this half an hour ride will cost you €5. You have just seen the Scrovegni Chapel, one of many treasures to be found in the city of Padua in the Veneto region. Although it takes its name from Enrico Scrovegni, the local banker who commissioned the work, it is the most famous for the fresco cycle by early Italian Renaissance artist Giotto. Just nearby Scrovegni Chapel is a city museum, and in its galleries you can see paintings by famous Renaissance painters including Tizian, Giotto, Bellini and Veronese. This collection is considered one of the best collections of Venetian art from the 12th to the 19th century in all of Italy. In front of works of art there is also a large collection of historical artifacts from different historical periods, including pre-Roman period, Greek period, and each exhibition is well designed and includes multimedia content. City Museum and the Scrovegni Chapel are located in Giardini dell'Arena. It is the park very nicely decorated and full of trees, and it offers a pleasant walk along the banks of the Northern Canal. Padua is a city located in the northern eastern part of Italy in the Veneto region. And this is an extremely beautiful city where you can see many unique old buildings and bridges, as well as a historic University of Padua where Galileo Galilei once taught. Although some wrongly consider it is the wider area of Venice and Treviso, Padua has its own history and was a very important city during the Middle Ages. Padua is located about 40 kilometers west of Venice, and according to the last information it has 240,000 inhabitants. Many tourists visit it when they come to Venice, and one-day trip to Padua becomes a lifelong beautiful memory. What I like the most in Padua is the atmosphere. You can see that there are some peaceful streets, peaceful squares, and on the opposite side you can see streets and squares that are full of people, and the atmosphere in this city is so lively that it's hard to explain. We came from the Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, and Belgrade is an extremely lively city. But for the first time during our traveling we saw the city which is more lively and more vibrant than our Belgrade. Archaeological findings show that Padua is actually one of the oldest cities in the northern Italy. There is evidence that the first settlement was established here around 1183 BC, and Padua was later conquered by many tribes including Huns and Goths. And during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, Padua became very important, and the University of Padua was known as one of the best in Italy. Padua is also an industrial city, and the industrial zone in the eastern part of the city is one of the largest in Europe and employs over 50,000 people. Piazza Duomo is another of the most important places to visit in Padua. being home to three major landmarks, Padua Cathedral, the Baptistery, and the Diocesan Museum. While not quite as impressive as the St. Anthony of Padua church from the outside, Duomo di Padua is still one of the most important landmarks in Padua. The original cathedral dates back to 1117, but had to be mostly rebuilt after the earthquake destroyed it. Right next door to the cathedral, you'll also find the Baptistery of Padua, which is filled with more amazing frescoes created in 14th century by talented Italian painter Giusta da Menambui, a student of Giotto. Finally, completing the trio of buildings on Piazza Duomo is the Diocesan Museum, set inside the former 15th century residence of the bishops of Padua. The museum houses the city's most established collection of religious art.
Ciao signori, buongiorno.
Here you can see the beginning of the main pedestrian street in Padua, famous by its vibrant atmosphere with many restaurants, cafes and bars. And here you can see the mostly local people from Padua. There are also some tourists, but not so many like in Venice, where majority of people in the streets are the tourists. And so this is something unique in this amazing city. Unique by its architecture and its atmosphere. This street leads you directly to the Prato della Valle, area of 90,000 square meters, which is the largest square in Italy and in all of Europe. This is one of the most important areas in Padua, and locals love the open space and the very shape of this square. The square is sometimes called the square, but it is actually oval in shape and is surrounded by a canal surrounded by 90 statues representing various important figures from Padua's history. There are 4 bridges on the canal over which you can reach the central part of the square and the fountain on it. We visited Padua on Saturday and At this day there was a huge open market on this square, and we enjoyed together with the citizens of Padua walking along this market and looking for some nice things we can buy. Nearby this amazing square you can see the Basilica Santa Giusta and one of the oldest botanical gardens in Europe, which is also part of UNESCO heritage sites in Padua. Like many other cities in the Veneto region, Padua also has its canals. And, the most beautiful and interesting canal is the Brenta Canal, which stretches for many kilometers between Chioggia on the coast of the Adriatic Sea to Padua, where it flows into the Brenta River. The canal was built in the 15th century to improve trade between Venice and other major cities in northern Italy. If you want, you can go on a boat trip from Padua to Venice, or vice versa. On the other way, you will see many beautiful houses and villas, and the most famous Villa Foscari and Villa Pisani. The nature around the canal is beautiful, and on the way to Venice you can see many small villages around the banks. In addition to the Brenta Canal in Padua, you can see several canals and rivers. The walk along the banks is wonderful, and you will see much of the city along the way. From the Giotto Street you can take the path by the river and enjoy the walk until you reach the observatory. From there you can continue into the city center or continue north along the river and pass through the Giardini di Larena. During this walk you will pass many beautiful buildings. Here is one residential area of Padua, which is away from the rush that you can see in the main pedestrian area in the center of the city.
Era solo per vedere.
Jäger das auf Pizza, so schaffen wir die Wege. Perché non sei abituato.
Anche perché tu è vicino a qualche
Quanto gli ho detto?
Delle emozioni.
Here is a building of University of Padua, and there is a special guided tour that can take you along this historical building dedicated to the knowledge. The Bo Palace is the main campus of the university, located in the historical city center of Padua. The main courtyard with its amazing frescoes is free for anyone to visit, but however a tour of the university will allow you to see much more. The University of Padua was also the first university in the world to award the PhD for women in 1678, and the university is established in 1222. It was the second oldest university in Italy after Bologna and the fifth oldest in the world. The university was actually established by a group of scholars and professors from the University of Bologna who wanted more academic freedom. ovdje kupiti torbicu.
Bilo bi lepo. Neku uspomenu.
The huge palace Ragione houses the city hall and is located on Piazza della Frutta Square. Ragione Palace is considered a true icon of Padua, and this building is symbol of the former power and influence of Padua. It is built between 1172 and 1219, and this building was for hundreds of years a place where various ceremonies and trials were held. The building has a large open chamber richly decorated with a series of frescoes by Nicolas Miretto and Stefano di Ferrara. And the hundreds of frescoes on these walls represent allegorical stories and historical events. On the other side of Palazzo di Ragione is Piazza del Signori, one of the largest squares in the historic part of Padua. Piazza del Signori is also one of the busiest places in the city, and public celebrations and tournaments have always been held in this square. Built in the 14th century, this square extends in front of the famous clock tower and is full of medieval and Renaissance decorations. At the end of the square is the church of St. Clement, and the other is the clock tower. Along the square there are a number of houses, restaurants, shops and cafes. Various festivals and other events are often held in this square, so it is a great opportunity to experience authentic Italian culture and the local atmosphere. And the famous clock on the tower is a 24-hour astronomical clock that tells you time, date and the position of the sun in the zodiac. The Basilica of St. Anthony with several domes is one of the landmarks of Padua and dominates the center of the historic part of the old town. Built in 13th century, this basilica is a fusion of several different styles. On front there are several arches and many details that frame the main entrance, but the real treat for the eyes are the sides of the basilica, 8 domes and a series of beautiful towers. The interior of the basilica is also amazing. Frescoes and paintings cover every square centimeters, and there are also plenty of gold ornaments and marble sculptures. Next to the church there are several chapels where you can see beautiful Renaissance work of art. I have to say that for me it is the most beautiful interior of one church that I have ever seen.
accogli la nostra preghiera, rendici capaci di agire alla luce della
No.